Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Elizabeth Sanders, USDA Insurance Chairman, and our USDA webinar.
Or good afternoon. On the East Coast, it is afternoon, and good morning to those further west. To tell you a little bit about me, I hadn't planned on telling you anything about me, but I have been doing this for 5 years, and it is a fun job, but it is also a hectic job sometimes, about 3 months out of the year. So that's enough about me. We will get into the what I'm going to be talking about today. But the first thing I will say is the rates for the rate is $6 per member for all those that are part of an organization that's a member of one of the USDA affiliates. If there's anyone here today that's not a member of an affiliate, your membership is $7 per person. So it's basically $6 for everybody that's with the USDA. I've got some notes that I've got here, so I am just going to come back to this note, and we go to the first slide.
All right, Elizabeth,
yes.
I'm going to interrupt you just a second. I've got somebody saying they can't hear you. I hear you fine, but I'm not sure. Maybe you can speak just a little bit louder.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope that's better. Maybe I should face my screen every time I talk. Okay, so the first screen, when you get into the portal, now the link to the portal is on the USDA website on that page. If you click on the menu drop down for programs and the Dancers Insurance Program, you'll see click there and you will get to a page that will give you the link for the portal if you don't already have it. But when you open up the portal, this is what it will say. Right now it says it has 2 teal colored boxes, 2024 and 2025. And you need to make sure that you select the correct year. If you're entering members for the 24 year late joiners, then don't click on 25. You must click on 24 and complete your information there, and then go to the 25 to do your information for 25. Then the next page will be this one where you tell us about you. You will have to fill this page out every time you open up the portal. And this is, you just put your name in there, an email address, and a phone number. And then you have to go through the yes, I am, or no, I'm not a robot. And then once you get all that in, you'll click on the next button. All right, so this is a pretty bad screenshot, but it was not, I could not get to a screenshot of what it actually looks like, because when you type in the USDA club number or the club name on that line, it will give you a drop-down menu with, if you put the number in, it will show you your club. But if you just put your club name in, it's going to list several different clubs. I just did a quick search of 2 club names that are very popular, and Yellow Rockers. There are at least 5 clubs that are called Yellow Rockers. So if you type in Yellow Rocker and click on the first one, that might not be your club. So you have to be very careful. And then there's another one where there's several different spellings of bow and bales, or bales and bows. And there's at least 14 different variations of those club names. So it's very important that you know your club, USDA club number. And if you've got any paperwork from the previous year, that number is on your paperwork. So once you've select your club. You confirm the mailing address for the club. The club's mailing address is changed from year to year, so you can make that adjustment here. Then the next one is where we start adding names to the roster. And this is like when it comes, so if you can see in the background behind that white box, it says a setup, and it says your roster is empty, and there's the plus sign. Well, if this is not your first time, you're going to have a list of names there, but you'll still have to click on that plus symbol to get this white box so that you can add names. So you'll add a name, you'll type the first name, the last name, click on the plus sign, and then you will continue doing that until you list all the names of the members that you're adding. And once you do that, this white box will extend. It'll expand. When you get all the names typed, click on submit. Then you will get a roster. And then you can look at it and it's like, oh, I forgot to add Sally Jones's name. So you click on the plus and go through the process again until you get all the names in there that you need. And it'd be real good to verify the spelling of the names. And also you need to make sure that if there is a person on that list that you know is a member of another club, but you also need to make sure that they're paying their insurance through your club, because if they're not, you need to put an asterisk by their last name so that you know not to include them in your payment, because I don't need every club paying for one dancer. Only one club needs to pay for a dancer, not 2 or 3 clubs. Okay, so the next window will be setting up facilities. And as you can see, if this is not your first time, you will have a list there of facilities that you have used in the past. And you just say, okay, we're not going to use that one anymore. Click on the trash can. But you will have this, and you will click the plus sign to get a window to add a facility. And then you see here, you've got a name, an address, and you type that in and you click on submit. And then if you've got another facility, then you click on that plus sign again, then you go out and add the facility again. The roster is a little bit different. With the roster, when you go to add names to the roster, you can do them all at one time before you click submit. But for facilities, they each have to be done individually like this. All right, so then when you get through adding all your facilities, you will get the next page, which will look like this. And if you check it, make sure you've got the address correctly, you've got it spelled correctly. Because if you don't, and then you don't change it here and it's printed out and you give it to the facility, they're going to be upset with you because this is not us, because that's not how we spell our name. So you would have to come back and correct it. But just look at it and verify it, make sure it's correctly. And if you've got all your facilities listed, then click on next. Okay, so here's the screen for adding additional insurers. And it will show you the facility name, but then you need to add the insured name and the address. This one right here, they needed to see something different in the certificate holder box. So in that case, you just repeat the address here. This is a church. It could have been a bishop's name, or I guess a bishop would be over the Catholic churches. You might have to have a parish leader. You might have somebody's name, and you would type that person's name there. You would also type the name of the church after that, like if it's a bishop, or if it's a school, then you're probably going to have several items typed on this line. But then you got to put the address, the street address and the city and state. All right. When you get all that typed in, you look at it and then you click on the submit button and you're almost through. The next screen will, like it says, confirm everything looks okay. It will show you your club affiliation. Then it scrolls down. Even though you can't see it here, you scroll on down and it will show you everything, your roster, the club's mailing address, the facilities. And if that is all correct, click on confirm. And this is the window you will get after you click on confirm. So now by clicking on confirm, all right, so when you click on confirm, you have saved everything that you have done. The portal will send every one of the documents to me. I will get all of the documents. You will get a roster. Every time you add a facility but do nothing to the roster, so you've add in mid-year, you'll add an additional facility. Okay, so you go into the portal, you add that facility and confirm, and you will get another roster, even though you made no changes to the roster. But the only way you're going to get a certificate is to email me and say, hey, we added a facility, such and such. It's the name of the facility. Please, and then I will email that facility certificate to you. Otherwise, you'll never get the certificate. So always remember, if you adding additional facilities, that you have to email me and request that copy that you put in there. Or you can send me a request and ask me to add the facility for you. Either way, but that's the basics of the portal. A few other things that I want to tell you is you get that roster every time you do anything in the portal. Okay, so you did something in the portal, you added a member, and you didn't get a roster. Check your spam or junk folder first and see if it's there. If it's not there, email me and I will send you a copy of the roster, because apparently there was something about the email address that was typed in the portal. I have done that myself. I have typed up and didn't get the roster to my address, and I thought, well, I should have gotten a roster. And then when I looked at what the portal sent me as the insurance person, I had typed the address wrong. So I thought, well, no wonder I didn't get a roster. I should have gotten 2 copies, but we all make mistakes. So if that happens, don't worry about it. Just email me and I can send that roster to you. Also, it didn't show up on this when you're adding a facility. There's a box on there. This says, if you want a CG 2026 to check it, please don't even bother checking it. I don't know why it's there. I don't know who gets that request. I don't. Email, if you need a CG 2026, email me, or better still, especially everybody in California, email Nancy first, and Nancy will send all those requests to me. But you have to send me a request for the CG 26s, specifically stating what the wording should be. This is awful short. I feel like I've left something out. Oh, yes, here's some more notes. It's in case you didn't know, this stuff makes me kind of nervous speaking in front of people. I've never liked doing that. It has to do with visitors and insurance. We all love to have visitors come to our clubs. And I have a lot of questions about this. And I've even had people tell me that their club charges visitors and tells them that they charge them extra and tell them it's for insurance. Well, you can't do that. You can't charge a visitor extra money and then tell them that that's covering their insurance, because that's not correct. The visitors that come to your club, if they are a member of a club that's part of the USDA insurance program, they are covered. If they have an accident reports need to be completed and filed with whoever you need to send it to in your organization. If that visitor is not a member of any club, they have no insurance with the USDA. But I want the clubs to complete an accident report anyway, because you need that documentation just in case. But if they're a member of a club that's in some states, there's a couple of states that don't use the USDA insurance. If they're members of those clubs, they have to depend on their own insurance and whatever their policies are about accident reports. They have to deal with that. Also, I noticed some stuff from just recently with a club in my area and the 501c3 status. I highly recommend that you do that. However, don't let that replace your insurance at your club. That doesn't mean that you don't have to apply for the insurance to have the insurance. It's totally different. And it might be beneficial for the clubs to incorporate just to protect you.
Elizabeth?
Yes, ma'am.
I've got a couple of questions, but one thing I want to add in, and maybe you should clarify. You talked about the chain of command, so to speak. So if a club has an accident happen and they have a report to submit, will you just review for everyone the chain of command and what steps they need to follow in submitting those claims?
Okay, yes. The club level is where it starts. Okay, so the accident is at a club dance, club event. They complete the accident report. The club is a part of a region in a state, and every state's set up different. So, for example, in Georgia, there's 3 USDA affiliates in this state. So the club that I belong to is in a affiliate. We're a member of an affiliate. There's several clubs there. So our club, if they have an accident, the accident report is completed. The insurance person in our club forwards it on to the Federation insurance coordinator. That person then forwards it on to the USDA insurance coordinator. So it's just kind of like the club level goes to the next level. If you're part of a federation, that federation may be part of a state organization. So, from the club, it has to come through the federation, through the state, to the USDA person. Is how it works. So if your state, I see in California, you have councils. And so if it's a club, will complete the form, they will send it to whoever the insurance person for the council is. And then from there, they send it on to Nancy, and then Nancy sends it to me.
Thank you. I think that helps.
Okay, good.
And just for clarification, in California, it's your club to your association to Nancy as the state insurance director, and then it goes up. So I know we have several California people on here. I have a question that came through the chat. If you have a person that is a member of multiple clubs, do I add that person to every club with an asterisk, or just the club where the member is through, which is paying their insurance?
Okay, so a member that is on your roster, you have a member who is members of several clubs. They have to be listed on at least one club. They do not have to be listed on any of the other clubs. If any of the other clubs want to list that person, that's when the asterisk has to go on there, because that secondary club is not paying the insurance. But it's very important that whoever's paying the insurance has that person's name on their roster. And they don't indicate on there that that person is a member of any other clubs, because they're the one that's paying the insurance, and they're the club that's important for that member.
Okay, so Dan Sattler, does that answer your question? You can unmute yourself to let us know. Yes, okay, that answered your question. Thank you, Dan. All right, the next question. Does USDA or the insurance company require that dancers sign in at every dance for insurance purposes?
No.
Okay, so just to expand on that, because we had always been told that they had to be signed in order for the insurance to cover them. So somebody is not signed in at your dance, they have an accident, and an insurance report is filed. If that person isn't on the club sign-in sheet for that night, they're still covered under that claim, assuming they are covered under USDA insurance?
Okay, so I said no because that's what I've been told by the insurance company. But I know so many organizations and clubs require everybody to sign in. And I recommend that because that's one way of proving that that person is there. But, you know, if you have somebody that's going to refuse to sign in, my insurance agent said, you know, no, it wasn't, they didn't have to force them to sign in, but we need to make sure they need to understand that well, how can we prove that you were here if you didn't sign in? And that's the way I look at it. So, but the insurance company doesn't require it, but different clubs do require it. I mean, I recommend it. So I know it's a confusing answer.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any other questions on the chat. Do any of you have questions you want to put in the chat, or okay, here's a question. Are we able to edit the club name? Two clubs have gone from pairs and squares to pairs and then apostrophe N squares. So they've changed the format of their club name.
No, you cannot edit that page. There was a time when we could edit that page, and it got to be, I mean, I had people going in there and clicking on the wrong club and changing the name of the club because they actually had clicked on the wrong club, and it got really confused. And so I asked the insurance IT person to stop allowing people to make changes to that page. So the only way you're going to get those changes made is to someone needs to send me an email and saying, this club's name needs to be changed to this name. And then I will forward it to the insurance company. And they're pretty fast about making those changes as long as I can get it to them quickly.
Okay, and I would recommend that when you're submitting that, you be sure you identify that, you know, who's making the request and the address and city, state of where that club is, just for make it easier on Elizabeth.
Right. And yeah, it would be very helpful if it comes from the insurance coordinator of that affiliate. I had an email yesterday from someone asking about, was their rates such and such, and did they do what they did last year? And I'm like, I don't even know where you're from. I don't even know what club you're talking about. So I had to send them an email back and say, what is your club? So anytime anybody is corresponding with me, the first thing you need to do is make sure that you list the name of your club and the club's USDA number. It will speed up the process.
Okay, and just tag on to that. Do the clubs automatically know what their USDA number is, or where can they find that? If it's like, say, if there's a new insurance director and they don't know what that number is.
Okay, so all the rosters have that number on it. And
just for the record, while she's getting something, I'm not an insurance director, so I'm asking this as a novice, as somebody who's coming in. So
okay, all right. So if you have a roster from a previous year, on that page, it will say like, I just picked up a roster and it says Swinging Squares of Rhode Island Incorporated, and there is a number in parentheses, which is their USDA number. So everything is on there. If you can't seem to find it anywhere, send me an email and tell me what the name of the club is and what town and state it's in, and I will look it up. It's real easy to look up. Or you could go to that portal, to that page where you have to select your club, type in your club name and see what pops up, because when it pops up, it's going to show you. Like on this PowerPoint, the name of the club is Test, and then there was that number in parentheses, the 1247. So every page in that portal has your USDA number on it, as well as the name of your club. If you can't find it there, if you don't have any paperwork, just send me an email, because it's really easy for me to find it if I know what name of the club is and where it's at. So I'll make sure I give you the correct number. But yeah, and the state US coordinator should have a list of all of their clubs with the USDA number.
Great. And, and this is another good time to remind all of you that if you are retiring from your insurance director position, be sure you help out the person taking your place. Pass the information on, help them get started so you have a smooth transition. All right, we've had several more questions come up, so I'm just going to start at the top of those. Can you talk about insurance for students in classes? Which forms do we file?
Okay, that form is not on the portal. It is on the USDA website, and it says club sponsored class roster. I think it's what it's called. But anyway, it's a class roster. All you need to do is just put the names of the students on the sheet, put the beginning date, ending date, club name and club number, and send it up the line. We said up through the insurance coordinators, and then it will eventually get to me. That is all you need to do for the students to have insurance. And it's only good for 9 months for students. And it's for first-time students in a mainstream or basic class, not those taking an advanced class or a plus class or a challenge class. There should be already dancers, members of a club. And if they're not a member of a club, they're just not insured while they're taking the class.
Okay, to tag on to that, since I know a lot of clubs are doing SSD classes, which are multi-cycle, and they're, a shorter class, and then they encourage those people to come back as angels. Are they still considered class members if they're in the second cycle of that SSD, or is it just the brand new SSD class folks?
So did they have a graduation? If they had a graduation, then they're not covered in that second part without joining a club.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, moving on. Can you also discuss which special events require the event form to be filed?
Every event, every demo you do.
Okay. Hopefully, Christine, that answered your question. Next one. Nancy Shelton said, for California people,
Can I go back? Sorry.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Christine.
To the event question. So Does that mean every dance we hold, we have to file an event form?
Oh, no, no. You're talking about every dance versus,
Well, I saw that event form and I think it's for parades for sure, but which things do we need to file that for? Yeah.
okay, so that event form is filed for if your club does a demo at a fair, or a nursing home wants you to come to a demo. Or you're out doing something to advertise for your club to generate interest and get new students. Those are events. Those are outside of your regular event. Your regular dances should have that one certificate that your facility requires. Those are not events that require that event form to be filled out.
But you do need to have a form for every, like if you have your regular workshops at one facility and you have your special dances, special hoedowns, that kind of thing at another facility, you do have to have that separate insurance. But that's not necessarily an event. That's just an extra facility that you dance in on a regular basis.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that cover everything for you, Christine?
Yeah, that answers the question about the events. I had put a couple questions about the students in classes
I'm
too.
going down my list.
All right, that's fine. Yeah, of course.
All right. The next one, this one was from Nancy Shelton, and she says, for California people, you cannot delete names on roster or facilities on the 2024 portal. You can do it on the 2025 portal. Elizabeth, you were saying that you don't want them working in the 2025 portal, or did I misunderstand that?
Well, that's a little misunderstanding, and that could be my fault. Don't worry about it, Bonnie. It's probably my fault. Okay, so on the rosters, and this goes for everybody, not just California. All right, for 2025, you've got a roster, you've completed it, you've sent your money in, and you're good for the 2025. Okay, so, but some people are going through the 2024 and they say, oh, I don't want this person. Okay, let me back up. I'm ahead of myself. All right, so let's forget about 2025 and we're looking at 2024, and you have a member who moves and you think, well, they're not a member of us anymore. When are you going to take them off the roster? Well, you cannot delete their name off the roster in the portal for insurance purposes. They are still insured because they've left your club and they're going to another club. And their insurance will follow them through the end of the year. The person is deceased. You cannot delete their name. The person is not going to dance anymore. You cannot delete their name. So the rule is, if you're in a current year and you've already paid for that person, you cannot delete their name. Now, 2025, and you're filling out the documents for 2025, and you go through that roster, you can delete every name on there that you want to. If that person is not going to be a member, that person is deceased, that person is moved out of the state, delete their name off of that roster. You can do that before you send your money in. You have a name on your roster and they can't make their mind up, but you got to get your money in for it. Delete their name. Don't pay for them yet. Go ahead and pay for everybody that you know will be a member of your club on January 1. After January, when these other people, stragglers, decide, oh, well, I think I will be a member, then you can go back and add their names in the portal and submit their money then. But once you pay that money in 2025, you can't delete any names on 2025. So that's why you need to make sure that when you do these, because we have to do them early, that you know that person is going to be a member in January. If they're wishy-washy and don't know and can't make their mind up, don't pay for them. Leave their name off the roster. And when they make their mind up, collect your money and pay for them.
Okay.
Did that help?
Nancy, did that get your...
This is Nancy. Can I add just The reason I brought this up is because you were using as your example, the 2024 portal, not 2025. And I found that was probably going to confuse some of my people anyway. You can't just take the 2024 and change that and send it in as 2025.
Right.
So, okay,
Yeah.
All right.
that was my point.
All right. So then there's another thing, and I thank you, Nancy, for bringing that up, because it reminded me of one sentence that I did not mention. Come January 1, there will not be a year block there. You will not see 2024. You will not see 2025. You will see start renewal. Well, most of you, when that comes around after January, when you log on, you're not starting a renewal, but that is the only wording it's going to say. It will always say start renewal. And even if you're adding additional facilities, adding additional members, click on start renewal. It's it gets you to the place that it would get you to where you need to go.
Okay, terrific. All right, this does go back to Christine's question about the insurance for students. And her additional question is, and who should we list on the set of students? Everyone who came to an intro night. So we know a lot of our clubs will do 1 or 2 free intro nights, and you may get a bunch of people that you never see again. So should those on that new class list include everybody who came to the first intro night moving forward, or just the ones who actually stayed with the class past those free intro nights?
In our area, we only list the ones that stay past the intro week. So it will be less paperwork for you to just wait until the first night of that is the first night after the intro. Whoever shows up that night, that's the ones you put on the list. And then you might have somebody to walk back in a day or two, a lesson later, a week later. Go ahead and add their name to it. So just send in an additional name on the roster. But I would not worry with listing everybody's name on there, because most of those people that come in for those intros don't ever come back after the one time.
Okay, Christine, did that clarify your question?
Yes, and I think it answered the next question too. What about students who join late after the form has been submitted? So you're just saying we should send the form in multiple times if we have students who start coming later?
That's correct.
Okay.
Great, thank you. All right, the next question is, can you enter names and just print out a roster without entering any other information?
Okay, so you're going through the portal and you've done what you need to do to the roster. You can skip all the other pages until you get to the end where it says confirm, and click on confirm, and then it will just generate what you have listed, what you've done. I do have a club that has done the roster, but they did not do a facility, and the portal will generate all the documents that's needed without a certificate for a facility, because they didn't put the information in there. So yes, you can do the roster without anything else.
Okay, Carol Stahl, did that answer your question? I'm gonna hope she said yes.
Yeah.
All right.
I wanted, because we have several large clubs, and I wanted to print out a roster to double check before I gave them the amount of money that they owed for insurance. So
that's a different situation. I believe, depending on your computer, you could print out that roster from the portal, but it'll be multiple pages.
okay.
But some people can print it out. Just depends on the type software you got on your computer.
Okay. Well,
If all else fails, Carol, you might be able to do a print screen as you have the roster up on your screen. If you can't export the list, you might just try doing a print screen.
or I
again-
could just email it to the person in charge of insurance at the club and let them flick through it, make sure they have everybody on it. That's basically what
Okay,
if that, that works. Just as,
whatever works.
because sometimes they say, oh, I forgot to put this person in. Well, if I've already asked for how much money, then they got to send me another check. So,
Okay, moving on to our next question.
thank you.
Timberline Toppers operates as a group under the auspices of Summit County Senior Citizens Incorporated. Timberline Toppers is not a separate business unit, nor is it incorporated as a club. Summit County Senior Citizens has liability insurance coverage of $1 million. Does Summit County Senior Citizens policy provide sufficient coverage for our dance group?
Um,
Want me
okay.
to read that again?
All right. So, you've got a club that uses a facility that's a senior center, and the senior center has told them that they've got sufficient coverage to cover them. Is that basically what we're talking about?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
The
So-
facility is a county building, and Summit Seniors Incorporated is allowed to use that facility. And as far as long as for the half a dozen years we've been associated with the club, it's always been considered that the Summit Seniors Inc. policy of the $1 million was sufficient. And if anybody were to sue, they would either try to sue Summit Seniors Inc., where the liability policy would help, or they would sue the county, because we're in a county building. The club's been around a long time. My wife and I have only been associated with it for about 6 years. We think we've never had separate insurance other than what the county has for the facility, and this our father organization, the Summit Seniors, has had as a liability policy.
Okay. So if the square dancer has an accident, not only could they sue the senior center, the county, but Timberline Toppers, they can sue the club also. All right. So now, in the club members of Timberline Toppers, when they're visiting other clubs, they're not insured. They don't, this insurance that this senior center has does not travel with you as a visitor to other clubs. So I would suggest that Timberline Toppers look into the insurance.
Okay. All right.
Are you guys members of the Colorado Square Dance? I don't know what it's called. Colorado Square Dance Association?
I believe so.
We're part of the Denver Council of the Colorado Square Dance.
So that does make you members of USDA through that
Right.
affiliation. So then it's just a matter of completing the insurance forms and doing that process if you want to be covered under the USDA insurance.
Okay.
Okay,
thank
so
you.
we'll talk to our state people.
Can I say one thing here too?
Yeah.
Sure.
That covers liability, you said, but it doesn't have dancer insurance. So there are two parts. So just something else to consider.
Right. Okay. So, the Timberline Toppers, if y'all not been with the USDA insurance before, then there would be an application that you would need to complete first, which from that application only takes about a week for it to be processed to get that USDA number. So once y'all get through talking it over, and because you are part of the Colorado affiliate, then it would be $6 per member, your cost. And there is a minimum if you've got eight or less members.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, folks. All right, next question. Some people say that they are members of another club and have their insurance there, but they let their membership with that club expire a couple of months ago. They say that they paid insurance for the entire year and are still insured. Are they insured? Do they have, don't they have to be a current member of the club to still have insurance? I think you kind of addressed this already, but if you'll just review that, Elizabeth.
Okay, so what has happened, I'll use an example of a club in our area. They ended up, for various reasons, had to fold. Okay, so they had all these members, not many, maybe 8 or 9 members that had paid the insurance. So these dancers had insurance, but the club no longer existed. So they went and joined other clubs. And when they joined these other clubs, they did not have to pay insurance because they were still covered, even though their club had folded. Their insurance was still good. Did that answer the person?
Okay, Jackson, did that answer your question?
Okay, we're unmuted. No, these are people who belong to several square dance clubs, but their membership year is not January 1 through January 1. They say, I have my insurance through, just name another club, Circulators. But Circulators club year ends in at the end of July. Well, they never bothered to rejoin as of August 1.
But they're still going to dances
But they're still, yeah, and the way I read the policy is you have to be a current member of the club through which you are insured for your insurance to be good to go to other dances at other clubs.
Okay, so yes, if these dancers have left the club without joining another club, then their insurance has expired. So you have 30 days once you leave one club to join another club to carry your insurance and it be effective. So if they don't do anything within the 30 days, then they don't have the insurance.
We've had this discussion with several people, but I paid my insurance for the whole year. Well, but you're not a member of that club anymore.
Okay,
Right. You have to be a member of a club.
okay, but if they are a member of multiple clubs, but the one that they hadn't paid insurance through, every other club put an asterisk by their name, do they then have to go to one of those clubs that they have and say within 30 days and say transfer my insurance to here?
Yes.
Okay, so it's up to that dancer to pick whichever club they want to, because we've already deducted their $6 or $5 from previous years, and say, yeah, we can do that, but you need to decide which one you want to do.
Yeah. You got 30 days to find another club.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right. The next one was asking for your email address. That your email is insurance@usda.org, and I have posted that in the chat. But again, if you need to reach Elizabeth directly, it is insurance@usda.org. But remember, follow the chain of command. Start with your local level, work up through your association or local affiliate, up to your state, and then they will forward on to Elizabeth at USDA. Next question, is the 2025 portal open yet?
Yes, it is. It was open November 1.
Okay. Next question, what about students who join late? Oh, I think we already answered this. It just shifted on me, sorry. So that one, I guess, got covered. Can you also mention what a club should do if they are meeting at someone's home for their club nights? Is it different if they occasionally host a public dance at a public facility?
The insurance policy says that personal homes are not covered. Your homeowner's insurance would have to cover it. If you're having business meetings at a person's home, the insurance is not going to cover you there at that person's home. That's just that is just something with the insurance company, not with USDA. But the insurance company says no personal homes, no personal barns. If you have a barn that's an event facility on your property, that's a little different because it is rented out to other people. But if it's your personal property, it's not covered.
So now you mentioned like a board meeting or a club meeting. Clarify this for us. Does the insurance cover any event that does not include actual dancing? So we have a committee meeting or a board meeting at my home, but we're not dancing. So does the insurance even cover anything that is affiliated with that meeting?
It's held at the personal home, so no. Now, if this meeting was held at a facility that you already have a certificate on, or you get a certificate for, yes, it would be covered, even without a dance, because it is a meeting and it's associated with the square dancing.
Thank you. I was not aware of that. So that answered one of my questions. So, all right. Do we have any other questions that people have for Elizabeth?
Can I follow up just to clarify on the club, if they're meeting at someone's home? So, okay, I understand that the policy does not cover the dancers while they're at that home or the liability. But should that club then not, if there are dancers who are part of that club who are not members and do not regularly dance at other clubs, should we just not list them? Should we just not list that club at all, not submit it?
I'm not sure I understand the question. Repeat it again, please.
Sure. So there's a club after the pandemic or during the pandemic or sort of right after they started meeting in someone's home. It's a very small club. And so they don't really need any facilities anymore. And so the question is, should we just go ahead and withdraw that club from the membership or and not get any insurance for that club or their dancers? Or should we, is there some other way we should submit it? And what do we do about the dancers who generally don't dance elsewhere, but what if they did dance somewhere once? What should we tell them?
Okay, first of all, if the club having the dance at someone's personal home, they cannot get an insurance certificate because the USDA insurance will not insure a personal residence.
I understood that, yes.
Right. But now this other question about whether you should delete them or not, that is an individual, that is the state's decision or the organization's decision as to how to handle that, if they're members or not. I'm not going to have them on any of my list as being an insured club. Their dancers, when they visit, are not covered.
Even if we get so we can't get a certificate for dancer insurance for those dancers unless they meet at a public facility. I understand they wouldn't be covered when they're dancing in the home, but we can't even.
I can't issue a certificate for a personal residence.
No, I know but isn't there like the club has liability generally? So what if this club, okay, most of the year they're meeting at the person's home, but then once a year they host a public dance. So they would have a facility, they don't use it that often. We should still be able to get insurance for them, correct?
Yes, in that case, yes, because of the public facility, they would need a certificate. So then, yes, you would be getting the insurance for something that happened at that facility. So if they have an accident at the personal home, then that's
not covered.
Right. But yes, they can still get insurance because they have a public facility. Okay.
And for the dancers that generally don't dance elsewhere, what should we tell them? Assuming they only ever meet at this person's house. So what should we tell the dancers who, if they want to go to another club and dance, what should we tell them? They have to join that club?
To get the certificate for that public facility, there will have to be names on the roster.
Yeah. So what if they don't have any public facility? That was sort of a hypothetical. I was just trying to understand the distinction.
If they don't have, okay, so there is one club that has submitted a roster and no facility.
Exactly. And they don't really need any facilities. But they do want dancer insurance for the dancers, not for while they're meeting at the home, but just generally. So those dancers
well, see,
have insurance.
This particular club will get certificates. They're paying the money for their dancers on the roster. They're just not getting a facility certificate.
I see. So the dancers can still be insured
The
when they
dancers
dance
can be
elsewhere.
insured. There's just no,
Okay, got
there
it.
is no liability insurance
That makes sense.
available.
Got it. Okay, okay. Yes, thank you. That's a very tricky one.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, good. Now here's another kind of follow-up on those business meetings. Our club holds business meetings at another facility. Are our members still covered? Elizabeth, can they get a liability insurance certificate for the location that they have, if it's a public location, for that facility where they have their business meetings as well as where they dance?
Yes, when they go into the portal for 2025 and they're listing their facilities, if they know they're going to be having this facility for a business meeting, they need to go ahead and list it then and get the certificate in January. For the certificates say from January 1 to January 1, so it doesn't list individual dates that the facility is being used. It's just that when you get that certificate, it's covering it for 12 months.
Paula, did that answer your question? All right, we're gonna hope they are. Here's another hot button question, Elizabeth. I know this one's gone round and round. Is there club board insurance coverage? The board and
directors-
officers.
Directors and officers insurance is a separate policy that the insurance will issue, but it is very expensive. It's about $700.
So they're not automatically covered under our regular policy.
No, they are not. There is a special application and the fee may be higher in 2025.
Okay. And is that $700 for the whole group or each individual that's covered under it?
That's just a D&O, the directors and officers
Okay, got it.
policy. Yeah. And I just threw 700 out there. That's just a estimate. I'm thinking now that it might be 750. What the D&O policy is.
Okay. I just know that that's a question that's come up very often. All right. And then the same person asked members at large who don't belong to any club. They're just not covered anywhere, correct? Just under their own private insurance.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Asking further on one of Christine's questions, this is coming from someone else. Under Christine's example, are the dancers covered if they are injured dancing at private residence? It sounds like they're not. And I would agree from everything you've said that they're not covered if they're injured at that individual home.
Right, because that facility is not covered.
All right. Do we have any other questions? We've run you through the gambit, Elizabeth.
No, that's quite all right. Quite all right.
All right. One last time, do we have any additional questions for Elizabeth? Have we clarified everything for everyone?
I have a question. Does the insurance cover board meetings where there's no dancing?
Yes, because it's a function of the Square Dance organization.
Okay, but it does not cover travel to any facilities, right?
There is a group travel event form for group travel, but there is one organization that has submitted group travel to me before, and it's on the event form, but it's for a group traveling to perform, to dance.
When it's that group travel, do they all have to travel like in a bus or something like that? Or can it be like, can they carpool? They're just going together as a group and traveling together.
Hold on just a minute. Let me get a form.
Okay. Well, oh, okay.
Okay. The group travel is on the notification of an event form. And Oregon is a state that has used the group travel information. And it just states on here the date and time of the trip, departing from your destination, and the carrier. So it could be a, and I think that when they did it, they turned it in with like a van that was rented, a 15-passenger van. But I'm not sure if it includes private vehicles or what. I guess I would actually, if somebody did it without having a rental facility carrier, I would have to probably get clarification on that. But it doesn't say a whole lot on here for group travel information. So if somebody is planning on group travel and would like to know about the coverage, let me know. Give me some particulars on that in an email, and then I will get it clarified through the insurance company.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Any other questions that we have today?
Oh, I've got a comment.
Okay,
I should have said start with, make sure your affiliate has paid their USDA dues. The USDA dues is separate from the insurance. And Mr. Taylor, the USDA treasurer, sends me a list of everybody that's paid and hasn't paid. And if you send me your money for insurance and you're on the not paid list, I will hold your certificates until you're off the not paid list.
okay. Good advice for everyone. All right. I want to start by thanking Elizabeth for her time today. Lots of valuable information, lots of good questions asked. I want to remind the California folks, I know we're scheduled for 1 o'clock, but I think with schedules and stuff and the time we're ending this, if you can log back in at 12:30 and we can go ahead and follow up on some of the information that Elizabeth is giving us. Nancy Shelton, our state insurance director, is going to oversee that program. So for all of you from California, if you'll log back in, same login information at 12:30, we'll go ahead and give everybody a short break and then come back and finish this up. I know a couple of us have to leave early, so that's why we start early, we'll be good.
Bonnie, this is Sally. What if you have people who were not part of this, but who are just logging on specifically for California? They're not going to know it's starting at 12:30.
That's true. All right, let's keep it at 1.
Sorry, but
well, no, it's just I know that like I have to leave early. You're covering for me, but Sue, I think Sue already had to log off. So yeah, let's just leave it at 1. My bad. All right. Moving forward, once again, our next webinar is actually next week. Because of this one being postponed, we have 2 this month. So our webinar next week is Mike Seastrom. He's going to talk to us about how we as dance leaders, club members, association officers, members, how we can nurture new callers. We're all desperate for new callers. We've lost so many. And how do we, not everybody's going to come out of the gate a superstar. And so how do we meet our own expectations, help nurture these new callers, new queuers who are getting started out, and help them along the program. So join us next Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. I know I get people that start logging in about 7 in the morning my time, and it's like, no, you're a bit early, so sorry about that. But please join us next week, and that'll be a great workshop. Elizabeth, we're getting lots of thank you notes for your time and effort. We do appreciate all that you've done for us. I know that we have one person on board, Renee from Jackson. They had an incident at their club. She used a lot of the USDA provided information for what she calls a red book for what their club should do in an emergency. And she's actually going to talk to us at our January meeting of the California Council about the incident that happened and how their club responded. And so, I think it's really good to have actual experience, and she's going to share some of that with us. So I think that's just going to be a great deal. So anyway, thank you all. I am going to end the recording now. And again, we appreciate all your time and energy. And Elizabeth, thank you so much, in particular for your time today. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Bonnie,
great-
for everything that you do for us. Thank you, Bonnie.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Glad to do it. And once again, California folks, come back on at 1 o'clock, and Nancy's gonna talk to us about more that's going on. Elizabeth, everybody else, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. And for us, some of us that are still working, it's Monday's a holiday for me. That's a happy camper, happy instant. So I'm gonna stop the recording. Remember the recording